Nation, what's happening? Welcome to the CardinOLL podcast, a classroom podcast that has been designed to interview industry professionals and experts so that we can help take your leadership and your learning to the next level immediately. Let me start off with a quote today. If you are not willing to learn, well, no one can help you. But if you are willing to learn, that's right, no one can stop you. That quote was made by the one and only Zig Ziglar, outstanding motivational speaker and wonderful author. Listen, learning is a critical part of your success. And this month on the CardinOLL podcast, I will interview some successful alumni from the illustrious, the one and the only, the Organizational Leadership and Learning Program at the one and the only, the University of Louisville. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, listen, Cardinal Nation, go get your pens, your pencils, your notepads, your memo boards, your iPads, whatever it is that you take notes on, so that you can learn from this amazing guest today. That's right, hurry up, go get it. Meet us in the classroom. Don't miss this opportunity. Don't miss this opportunity. This is going to be life-changing. It's going to help take your leadership and your learning to the next level. I promise you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what you see before you is Louisville at its finest. Louisville brags about a lot of great things and a lot of great people, but this right here is one person we really love bragging about in the OLL department. This is the one, the only. He is Amobi Okugo, and I hope I said the last name right. I think I'm close. Yeah. But Amobi, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and why UofL OLL is really proud to have you as an alumni.
I'm not sure why you guys are so proud, but first and foremost, thank you, Dr. Owens, for having me. I'm Amobi Okugo, first generation Nigerian American, born and raised in California, but currently reside in Austin, Texas, where I play professional soccer. I've been playing professional soccer for the past 10 plus years now. I lose track of it. I remember when I was 18, now I'm 30, so it's been a while. But outside of that, lifelong learner. I have UofL to thank for that. Entrepreneur. I've been, fortunate enough to be recognized for some of my accomplishments, and, hopefully just try to continue to create impact wherever I, find myself. So it's a pleasure to be on this podcast with you, and it's an honor, and I'm grateful for UofL. They helped me. My parents are most proud of UofL because I left school after my freshman year. I originally went to UCLA on a soccer scholarship, and one of the biggest things when I left, they were so against it, being Nigerian immigrants. If you know anything about Nigerian parents, education is number one. Mm-hmm. So it took a lot of convincing, and then, through some mentors and, facilitators, I was able to, continue my education, and UofL provided that for me. So thank you so much.
Hey, well, thank you, right? Like, it's not every day. I'm just to be honest, not every day I get to interview a professional soccer player, number one, a professional athlete, period. Just because the nature of what we do. I'm a college professor, for those of you that don't know or that listen to us often. We are college professors, and sometimes we get the luxury to teach or to instruct or to guide a professional athlete, but it's usually from a far, far distance. And Amobi, man, we're really proud of you. We're rooting you on. Even though you're in Austin, we're still cheering you on, just like we cheer any other professional athlete that leaves our program and that leaves the University of Louisville. So let's get started. Both feet in the water. You gave us a little bit of background. You're an entrepreneur. You're a student. You're a professional athlete. So in all those meshes, all those mixes, how is it that Amobi defines leadership?
That's a great question. I think for me, leadership is all about how do you get people to mobilize. You can give people direction, you can, do different things, but how are you as a leader going to get people to do what you want them to do? Mm-hmm. So whether you're a good leader or a bad leader, that's neither here nor there, because then people will say the argument of, well, this historical figure led a lot of people down the wrong path. And the question was leadership. And so I want to make sure that that's clear. I'm not saying this person's a good leader or that person's a bad leader. I'm just saying when it comes to leadership, it's how well are you able to get people to mobilize? Because there's leaders and there's followers, but not everyone's supposed to be a leader. Not everyone's supposed to be a follower. And I think for me, from my experiences and like, for what I've been taught and what I've like looked at, leadership is, is that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will say this: I've done 25 episodes of the podcast. 25. You are the 25th episode,
I
and
love
I will
that.
tell you, every person different answer.
Oh yeah.
And I love it, right? Because it just shows you that leadership is not, it is not a monolith, right? Like
Yeah.
your trigger word was mobilize. No one's used that word, not one, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a key word because you do have to get everybody moving. We can say synergistically in that same direction. And like you said, whether it's good or bad, that's, sometimes it's open to interpretation, right? A good
Yeah.
leader versus a bad leader. But some of it's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that if you are a leader, I think we had President Neely Benapudi was on here that says a leader is this: when you turn around, somebody's following you. And so if
Yeah.
you're mobilizing people, when you turn around, there is a group following you, and they're
Yeah.
going to do exactly what you are role modeling for them to do. So I think that
Exactly.
was an amazing answer, and I like it. I love it. I'm definitely going to catalog it.
Oh, I love that.
It's going in the books. It's going in the OLL Cardinal Call. What is leadership book? And so now that we know that you define it as mobilization, what do you think is your leadership style?
That's a great question. Are you talking soccer or are you talking business? Because once I cross that white line on the field, I am completely different than how I am off the field. But I would say my leadership style is someone like I'm gonna like show first. I'm not gonna be the one that's like telling people what to do if I haven't done it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit, intentional in how I want people to do it for themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I'm a big proponent. Like, when you're teaching kids, like, all right, that's a hot stove, don't touch it. But I feel like you got to let them touch the hot stove to realize it's hot. You just want to guard it from, like, you don't want them to burn their hand, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, touch it, feel that it's hot, but you got to feel that to understand like what I'm trying to like lead you to or what I'm trying to teach. So I think that's more my style. When it comes to soccer, like on the field, I'm real intense. Like, we gotta get this win at all costs. Constructive criticism, positive criticism, yelling, whatever it takes to win. I definitely probably think of self-awareness, self-reflection. I could be better when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to that type of leadership. But off the field, I feel like I'm pretty good. I give people room to grow, room to ask, room to like make their own decisions. But I'm also like, yo, put it on my shoulders. Like, I'm gonna carry this weight for us, and like we're gonna get to where we need to get to.
Okay. So you say that you have two distinct types of leadership styles you have going on, whether you're in business or whether you're on the soccer field or in the field of play.
Yeah.
Do you see where any of those mesh, or are they always just on two different arenas?
No, that's a great point. They do definitely mesh.
Okay.
I think especially like on the soccer field, a lot of the stuff that I take from business, I try to apply because not everyone responds the same way. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, if I'm like when I was younger, or like sometimes that you can't always be a leader. You got to follow somebody. Um, I can respond differently to like a coach or an older player or the captain of the team. Like, yo, Moby, you got to wake up. Like I respond, that doesn't affect me. But if
Mm-hmm.
if it's another player, they may respond differently. So understanding who you're talking to how to ultimately get them to mobilize to where the mission is going or where you may want them to go. I think that's really important. When it comes to business and taking stuff from the soccer perspective, I think like the motivating factor, using some of the things that I take from soccer to motivate people to like light that fire under them, to really give them that confidence. Like, yo, you've been working for this. Like, you're built for this. You can get the job done. You don't have to rely on me. Like, you're more than capable. You have all the talent in the world. Like, I think I'm really big on that. Like, giving other people their praises,
Mm-hmm.
because in this current society, in this current climate that we're in, everyone's knocking out like, oh, you did this wrong, or you did that wrong, or you did so great here, but what about 5 years ago when you did that mistake? So if I'm like constantly giving compliments, giving them that confidence, I think that's something that's helped me in the past when it comes to at the end of the day mobilizing and being a good leader.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So now that we talked a bit about your style, right? So if you had a style, that means probably at some point you had a role model or you had role models. So let me ask you this question: who do you think best exemplifies your definition of leadership?
Oh man, that's crazy. That's a good one. So I read Captain's Class by that one author, and he had a
Hmm.
great example of different leaders. But for me, uh, outside of like growing up, my dad, I just saw how he led our family and our extended family. A lot of people would call on him to like solve problems and have him lead the way. Um, like sports figures that I really liked as captains. Patrick Vieira, he used to play for the French national team and Arsenal. You could just know like when he stepped out on the field, his teammates were gonna like do everything they could to, I don't want to say not embarrass him, but like also like make sure like they're running a good ship. Um, I like Phil Jackson. I mean, for him to be able to coach Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and then Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, like big egos, and like he did a good job of that. Pat Riley, someone that has a way of playing and does a great job of leading from that standpoint. And then like more recently, LeBron James. I mean, if you look at like his history, no players really say anything bad about him. He's someone that's going to do the work as well as try to give advice. Um, and like with the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, they're a little bit more intense. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, by the way. Whereas LeBron James, he's kind of like I don't know the term. Well, I don't want to mispronounce it, but the laissez-faire
Hmm.
model, where he's a little bit reserved, but still like needs to be sterning when he needs to be. I think those are like some people that I recommend.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I think that's interesting that you kind of, leadership is interdisciplinary by most people's definition.
Hmm.
Not all leaders are the same, right?
Yeah,
Bill Jackson does not lead like any football coach, right? Bill Belichick,
yeah,
so to speak, because there's two different sports. Even though one's dealing with some egos, one's dealing with more egos or less egos or more money or salary cap, no salary cap, or whatever the case may be. And so I think I find it interesting that some of your more some of the leaders you mentioned were not all soccer players. They're not all these astute businessmen that we read all these books about. Why do you think that is, or what effect do you think that had on you as while you were growing up, or creating your mobilization definition of leadership?
To be honest, I think growing up, I was like more exposed to sports than business. I mean, I've always been interested in business, but like growing up, I always knew sports can translate into business. So a lot of times, some of the best athletes, or not even some of the best athletes, just some of the elite athletes have transitioned well into like business and corporate positions.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, like looking at CEOs, it wasn't until I was older, and then I really got to understand like their leadership style and how they were able to scale from like 100,000 to 200 million, like in like the leadership principles that they applied. But growing up, I was exposed to like sports. So I was like, how does this team stay good every year? Or how
Right.
is this guy getting the best out of his talent every year consistently? Or how is my dad able to like mediate, bickering between the family? So it was just basically exposure for me.
Yeah, I mean, my research it revolves around that aspect right there, what you talked about. I look at sports teams, and
Hmm.
then I wonder, right? I wonder if we apply those in business, does it work the same?
Yeah.
Right? It's a big wish list, because a lot of times we always say, and I'm sure you've heard it said before, sports is a replica of life, and life is a replica of business. So
Yeah.
if sports is the replica, right, if you get knocked down, you got to get back up. These are all great principles in life, also great principles in business. If you're an entrepreneur, right, your first business may fail, or you're going to
Yeah.
stop, or you're going to keep moving. This, that, and the third. And I look at that because what I always wanted to, what started my pathway on this was I was looking at the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots, right? So
Hmm.
when you look at like a pro team, you get the same athletes, you get the same pool you're pulling from, the same colleges, right? And there's a salary cap, so you can only spend so much money on these guys, right? So why does one team in the 20-year span go to 9 Super Bowls and win 6 of them, and one of them can't even sniff the playoffs, right?
That's true. Yeah. So
And so
what culture you said it.
Yeah. And so when you dig down deep, it's about culture. It's about so many other things than just winning and losing. It's about culture. It's about, the environment, it's the work ethic, it's expectations, it's owners, it's, that leadership model that's exemplified throughout the organization. And do people believe in what you're saying? You know what I mean? All those things. So, but speaking of that, I want to know what motivates you or inspires you. I would say to be great, but you're already great. So what inspires you to keep going, right? What inspires you to keep going?
I would say impact. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think an older friend of mine, he got like a piece of advice. He says, when it's all said and done, do you want to be a warning or a lesson? And I was like, what you mean? He's like, yeah, when it's all said and done, people talk about your life. He's like, do you want to be a warning or an example? Or sorry, I said lesson, but lesson or example. So when I thought of it like that, it's like, I don't want to be a warning. I want to be an example of, how to, do things the right way. So for me, how can you impact? How can you leave things better than you found it? How can you be a value add? How can you be intentional? And more often than not, good things will come. So when you give, you're gonna receive, and that's kind of been the motto. It took some time to figure that out, but that's kind of how it's been.
Wow, impact. I like it. So if you could evaluate, or if you were to assess so far the impact you've had, or your career in sports, out of sports, what would you say the impact that you've had has been?
That's a great question, because when I first rookie year, I was thinking all right, me and my best friend, we grew up together since we was 13, big goals. We're gonna get on the national team, we're gonna go to Europe, we're gonna make the Olympics, get these big deals. And while our careers have been, more than great, I think the biggest impact, at least for me personally, is the mentorship, the relationships I built, the connections where a player might have been a free agent, and then, you make a call and take 5 minutes out of your day, and then he ends up with a contract. That contract helps support him and his family for another 2-3 years. Or, you set up a relationship, and now when he's retiring, a lot of athletes struggle in their retirement. He has a job, different things like that, where I've been able to use soccer for, not only myself, not only my family, but other people around me. It's been a blessing. So there's been times when I did my podcast, and I was a bit inconsistent when I first started, and I had to stop it because my bandwidth was getting stretched too thin. And someone had messaged me. He's like, "Hey, Amobi, what happened to your podcast? I listen to those every week. They're inspiring." It's stuff like that. That's what motivates me to keep going, and hopefully, you don't have to change the world one at once. One step at a time, one person at a time, and hopefully, snowball effect, compound effect. You can achieve great things.
Yes. Man, that's great. I like that. I like that answer, and I like impact. That's not an everyday answer that we get, or that I get, or that we hear. Not from anyone. Not from. I think it's becoming more and more, but it's just not an everyday answer. So I think that's amazing.
Cardinal Nation, listen. Are you ready to take your leadership and your learning to the next level? Are you one of those people who've decided that it's time for my leadership and my learning to go to a whole new level? If so, this is what I want you to do. Jump on the computer, type in UofL.me/BSOLL-podcast. Again, that's UofL.me/BSOLL-podcast. On there, you're going to learn some information that's really going to help you decide and decipher that the University of Louisville and the Organizational Leadership and Learning Program is the right one for you. Go ahead, sign up, get the information, sign up for an informational. That's all we want you to do. Again, that's UofL.me/BSOLL-podcast. I'll be looking for you in the classroom soon.
So transitioning, we've talked a little bit about your leadership and your leadership style, but on this podcast, we also like to talk a little bit about learning. Obviously, we're talking to one of our big time alumni right now, so it's all about learning. He got the degree, he walked across the stage. So let me ask you this: in your opinion, how do you think learning takes place on an individual level and or on a group level, knowing that sometimes you're on the field and you gotta make it up on the fly? Like, how does that work? How do you know if your teammates got it?
A trial by fire. Sometimes you gotta throw them in the deep end and see if they can swim. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned. Like, you can like do all the homework that you need to do. You can study, but until you take that test, you're not gonna know what you need to work on. And I think a lot of times when it comes to learning, uh, you're doing it like subconsciously. So like, especially like on the field, like, all right, you see a play, you take it a certain angle, you see the same play, you take a certain angle, and then by the third or fourth time or over time, you respond to it differently subconsciously. And obviously, there's different things that you can do, like look at film, get advice from coaches to like help structure that and help facilitate that. Um, but that's learning for me, like doing the work, exposing yourself to those different situations and then adjusting and evolving over time.
Okay. I like that. Trial by fire. That answered like 4 questions I had right there. So I get to keep moving on through through my question list. But I do want to ask this, and then we can come back to the trial by fire. So marketing expert, leadership expert Seth Godin states that people need less mentors and more heroes. What do you think about that statement?
Oh, that's a good statement. I would say less mentors, more heroes, more sponsors too, because
Mm,
you need someone that's going to ride for you. Someone that's going to be like, yo, this is someone that I've been working with. I think he can do the job. You should give him this position. Mentors can give you advice. Yeah, they're definitely, experienced. They've done the path before you. But heroes too. I think heroes, whether it's yourself 10 years from now, or whether it's like a historical figure, or whether it's a celebrity, you do need heroes to give you that kind of like that person on the pedestal, or that you know light at the end of the tunnel. But I would say the sponsors, someone that's going to ride for you and like willing to stick their neck out for you.
wow. You're the first person to push back and challenge that. I like it. May have to add more sponsors and give you credit, right? We have to give you credit. I like that. So, in your career, did you feel like you had maybe more mentors or more sponsors or more heroes? Because I mean, I know
Oh, that's a
maybe
good
it was a
question.
good transition, but
Yeah, I would say that's a great question. I would say mentors. I
okay,
did have like a few sponsors that like they would stick their neck out for me. They would like, recommend me. Mentors, great mentors. I'm not downplaying any of the mentors that I've had. Uh, they've helped steer me in different ways that, have helped my career.
hmm,
But definitely more mentors than heroes. You know,
wow. And
yeah.
what about now? Do you think you have more heroes than mentors now, or has the roles has it kind of shifted a little bit?
It's shifted. I think it's more balanced. Like whereas before it was like 70-30, now it's probably like 55-45.
Okay,
Where I have where I have heroes that was like, like what this guy's doing or what this gal's doing. I need to get on that. Like I need to follow that model.
got you, got you. So we kind of talked about this a little bit in your introduction and how you ended up at Louisville. But if you could tell us, of all 13,000 colleges across the country, and obviously internationally, where you play an international sport, you could have went anywhere in the world. What drew you to U of L?
No, that's a great question. I think their ability to be able to work with the students. A lot of these programs, especially I did online. They say they have an online service and like they make it easy for you, but they don't have a proactive approach. They're not accessible. And the fact that OLL, U of L, was
Hmm.
able to answer my questions when I initially had reservations about going, the opportunity that I provided, when the opportunity presents itself. Initially, I was like, U of L. I mean, I have some friends that go there, but nah. And then all the resources that they provided, their ability to answer the questions, their ability to be proactive, and then the degree that I chose to do, it like really worked out in my favor. the work experience that I was able to transfer over,
Mhm.
the classes that I took or that they offered. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I would definitely do it 10 times over.
Ha! That ties right into my next question since you would do it 10 times over, sir. So let me ask you this, right? You're going through the program, we've met some of your expectations. Um, you're passing classes, but when was that signature moment that you knew, man, you can call home and like, I really think I'm about to walk across this stage,
Yeah.
mom. I really think I walk across this stage, dad. Like, when did you know? When was that moment? What class? What day?
Oh
What
my
was it
goodness.
like?
Yeah, so it's the one class, it's the final class that you have to take where you have to like uh prove why your work experience counts as like school credit.
Hmm.
And luckily, like the dashboard, I think it was Blackboard that you guys use. You can like do the projections for your grades.
Right.
So I did my projections, and I was like, all right, if I get this score, then I'm good. That's all I need. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting less than this score. So I called my mom and my dad. I'm like, yo, we good. Let's start planning graduation. So thank God you guys had that like project grade calculator thing that you could do
Yeah.
that.
And so that's when you knew. That's when it was like,
That's when I
I'm
knew. I was
calling
like,
home. It's
yeah.
going down.
I was like, there's no way I'm getting less than that. So we're good to go.
That's amazing. I love hearing those stories because you know what I mean. It's
Oh,
different for everybody, right?
yeah.
Like sometimes it's that last class, sometimes it's that next to last class, sometimes it's man when I get to this last semester, like
Hmm.
the same motivation. I'm gonna finish this semester. I don't care how many classes it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm getting it. I'm getting it done. So that's great. That's great. I'm glad you got to make that phone call. What were your parents' reaction when they knew?
Oh yeah, they were so happy because being I was playing professional soccer at the time. I did the slow and steady route. I was
Hmm.
taking 2 classes, sometimes 3 classes per semester. Fall, spring, and then summer A, summer B, and it was a long process. But they were so proud of me, and that was like when they originally came to the states. For a better life for them and their future kids, me and my siblings. It wasn't about oh yeah, he's going to come in and he's going to be a professional soccer player. It was for school and
Right.
education and stuff like that. So they like my mom took my degree. I had to like get it back from her so I could hang it up. Like it was it was an amazing accomplishment. I graduated. What's the levels? Magna cum laude or something. So the low
Yeah.
apostle.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's like out of all the accomplishments I've been able to make, that the fact that they could say my son's a college graduate, I think that's one of the top ones for them for sure.
No doubt, man. And Cardinal Nation is extremely proud of you. We're cheering for you wherever you go, whatever you do next.
Mhm.
But let me ask you this, and as whatever you're doing now, right? We're cheering for you now too. We definitely want all of our alumni to succeed. But let me ask you this, right? Because there are literally hundreds of people listening. Um, we are an international podcast. We cross the seas, we cross the great ponds on both sides. So let me ask you this: for all the people out there listening who wondering how did it happen, why did it happen, this, that, and the third. So from your mouth, from your brain, out of your mouth to all of our listeners' heads, if you could recruit the next you, if you could recruit the next Amobi, how would you do it?
And recruit him to come to U of L or just in
Most
general?
definitely, we want him
Oh,
to come
okay.
to U of L or
Yeah.
her, him or her, to come
Okay.
to U of L.
I would say, like the case studies. I think when I originally, came to U of L, like hearing the stories of, the military veterans that were able to, come back and get their degrees, or, the single mother or single father that, was working 2 jobs, but U of L provided a safe space for them not only to learn, but also take advantage of, the time constraints of, completing a degree and, taking care of a family and getting a job. The athlete that is still trying to compete but also complete their degree if they left school early or there's another situation. I think that did it for me. Like, all right, this is a program, this is a university that's going to be willing to work with you and
Mm-hmm.
not just fill a quota. Like, I was able to contact my counselors at any point when I needed to. The teachers were very responsive. If I had a question about like some of the work, um, it wasn't a problem for me. everyone was willing to work for me. So you're coming to a school that is gonna help you enhance your career and not hinder your career. And I think that's how I would, try to recruit the next me or whoever it may be that's looking to, pursue their education.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And I mean, I guess, I don't know, like, what would you say, how rigorous were the courses you took?
Scale of
Not that
one
we're
to
trying,
ten,
yeah,
I
we're
would
still
say
like
like
10 being like, like so difficult it kept you up at night, stressed your life
yeah.
completely away. One being, I think it's manageable.
I would say 6, 7, and it's not
Okay.
to like downplay like it wasn't like it's not super hard, it's not super easy, but I think for me it was an adjustment because the major I put, organizational leadership. Originally, I was like, what can you do with the organizational leadership degree? Luckily, I had a minor in business administration, but then mentor mine's like the way you talk about business, I see yourself being like high executive. This is a perfect major for you if you want to lead a company. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I embraced it. So I was really intrigued in the classes. I was really excited, and then went from there. There's a couple classes that were a little bit harder. I had to probably put some extra hours in,
Mhm.
but for the most part, everything was good.
Yeah, well, I think we do a good job. We try to sell our program as if you want to learn to lead with compassion and expertise. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we have a good balance of that, right? And when we say compassion, I guess, the buzzword now is empathy. Would you consider yourself that you learn some empathetic or compassionate tools that are in your box, whether maybe not so much when you're on the field, clearly,
Yeah.
but when you're off the field?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Just being a better leader, especially the class that I took. I mean, or sorry, the major that I took. There was definitely different mechanisms that I learned to help facilitate that compassion and empathy, and being sympathetic to different situations.
No doubt, no doubt. So before we get you out of here, Moby, because we know you got a busy life and some, you trying to, go win some more tournaments, win some more games, and challenge your teammates to be even better than what they thought they could be. But before we let everyone go out here, we have a segment called Rapid Fire.
Okay.
Rapid Fire is just a segment where I'm going to ask you 5 questions, right?
All
Be
right.
as honest as you can. Say the first thing that comes to your mind. We may ask for a little explanation, but that's okay too. It's still rapid fire. So are you ready, Amobi, for rapid fire?
Yep. Perfect. Let's get it.
Here we go. Round one. If you could pick one word that could describe your life so far, what would it be and why?
Oh dang! Come on. So this is not rapid, I guess. If you could pick one word that would describe your life so far, what would it be and why? I would say, damn, that's tough, man. You got to start with the harder one first. I would say authentic. Authentic.
Okay.
I think everything that has been from the relationships to the experiences to the sport, everything's been authentic. It's been real. It's been honest. It's been transparent. It's been open. I've been able to be exposed to a lot of different things, which has been great for me, and I've been able to like see the real situations for what they are.
Sweet. I love the answer. Authentic. I don't think anybody's ever used that one either. You got a lot of originals today. You get some good points on this one.
I appreciate that.
Number two. What are 3 non-negotiable characteristics that anyone on your team or tribe has to have?
Okay, see, this one's way easier. Okay, honor. You have to have honor. Like you have to honor your values, your mission. You got to be able to stand on your own two feet.
Mhm.
Don't follow bad trends. Everyone knows right from wrong, so have honor. Loyalty. I'm very big on loyalty. I think that's like one of my biggest non-negotiables in life. And then what's the last one? I think you got to have compassion. I
Okay.
think at the end of the day, like if you're not compassionate, obviously you got to be smart about it because some people can take advantage of your compassion, but you have to have compassion to other
I,
people's situations, other people's lives, and stuff like that.
I love it. OLL, we taught him well. Honor, loyalty, and compassion. Here we go. Number 3. What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, okay. So this is simple: vanilla ice cream. I'm not really a dessert guy, but vanilla ice cream or a mango milkshake. Those are like the two.
A mango? Where do you get a mango milkshake from?
Oh, I make that. You just get a little bit of milk, you get some ice cream, vanilla ice cream, and then you get the mango fruit, cut it up, put it in a nice little blender. You got your little mango milkshake.
Okay, okay.
Oh,
So is that something we can see? We can see like the Amobi mango milkshake. Is that coming out
oh yeah, we
sometime
can get
soon?
that done. Yeah, we got a small chops. My small chops is like my meal, my food, my food channel, my fake food channel. Small chops. Yeah, so we'll get a small chops mango milkshake original soon.
Okay, small chops. I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm on it. Here we go. If you weren't in the sports industry as a professional,
Yeah.
what would you be doing as a career?
Private equity. I would like to do private equity in the standpoint of like investment relations, helping big firms find, the right companies, the right people to help facilitate bigger deals and create more impact. So hopefully, I can get into that space from a sports perspective down the road.
I love it. I love it. Here we go. Last question. We're bringing it home on this one. Amobi, if you could sit with your 13-year-old self,
Oh.
what would you tell him?
I would say fail forward. So don't be afraid of failing. I think growing up, being the oldest of four siblings, being Nigerian American, I was always focused on making sure everything was right, being a good example. But sometimes by doing that, you kind of hesitate on some different things. So, fail forward. Don't be afraid to start. Don't be afraid to, take some risk, obviously within reason, and then fail forward. So as you continue to develop, as you continue to learn, as you continue to grow, just make sure one foot's in front of the other and continue to build from there.
I love it. I love it. So here's my last thing before we let you go. Before I let you go, I always end it with one fun question. And this is something
Okay.
that I've asked all 25 people. So it should be stumpful but helpful. If your life was a title of a book made up or real, what would it be and why?
Oh, this is perfect. I mean, it would be okay, you go. My last name's Okugo. If you break it up, it's okay, you go, and that's why it would be like that. So we'll see how it goes.
I love it. I'd buy the book. I'm telling you right now. Amazing interview. Love it, love it, love it. Amobi, is there anything you want to tell Cardinal Nation before you get out of here today?
Nah, thank you, Cardinal Nation. It's been a pleasure. And it's always a pleasure to be part of the alumni group. Continue to achieve excellence. If you guys want to connect with me, I'm sure my information will be in the show notes or description. Check out afrugathlete.com. Yeah, I'm always willing to connect. I'm always willing to collaborate. Always trying to create impact. So that's it. Thank you for having me once again.
No problem. We will definitely put your information out there where people can connect with you. Ladies and gentlemen, there he is. He's the one. He's the only. He's the venerable. He's the professional soccer player, OLL graduate. Let me tell you, he is Amobi. Okay, you go. Go buy the book. Everybody, have a great day.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
What a great interview with Amobi, right? His golden nuggets of success were fantastic, right? One, if you're a leader, it's all about mobilization. Two, if you are a learner, do not be afraid to take the test. Listen, not everyone can be a professional athlete like Amobi. However, anybody and everyone, we're hoping it's you, can be a student, right? And we want you to be a student in the OLL program here at the illustrious University of Louisville. Go ahead and check us out at UofL.me/podcast-OLL. Again, that's UofL.me/podcast-OLL. Cardinal Nation, I know we took your leadership and your learning to the next level today on this interview. So don't be afraid to download, like, and subscribe to this podcast. We're on Mondays now, every Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as we always say around here, you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed. When you teach, and there was a lot of teaching going on today, you'll never know how many lives you will influence. So listen, Cardinal Nation, this is what I want you to do. Keep learning, keep leading, and keep influencing, right? That's what we want you to do. And join the program.
uofl.me/podcast-OLL. You'll get some great information. So until then, what I want you to do. Take care and stay safe.